Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. BTM here, bringing you another Age of Empires 3 match. Today we have a 2-on-2 on Indochina. I am playing as China again. I have a British ally, and we are playing against a British and an Indian, respectively. Now, right off the bat, I am thinking that the Indian player has exactly two strategies he can do. He can either try to fish boom, which is a little bit sneakier of a strategy, and in my opinion better, or he can aggro fort rush, which is a more obvious and predictable strategy. Now, either way, I feel like I can beat the Indian one-on-one because I know my Chocono armies will absolutely decimate his Sepoys, and I also feel like I can handle the British. So I feel immediately off the bat into this match pretty good about it. Unfortunately, though, I do not have a Chinese water deck, even after I mentioned it in the last video. I did edit my rush deck, though, and make it a little bit better, but I didn't make a water deck yet, and I ended up playing the exact next match on a water map. It was a random map choice, unfortunately, and I did make a mistake by not having a proper water deck, because a water deck would have been helpful, but I didn't want to spoil anything this match. So right off the bat, I'm able to get a 40 wood treasure, which is excellent, because remember, we want to get 2 villages up fairly quickly, and that's kind of going to give us a little bit of a leg up to getting our 2 villages up. Unfortunately, we are still 60 wood short of it, so we will have that villager go and chop wood as soon as he is done currently building the village. I do have my explorer there, by the way, about to grab that food treasure. My hope is that I can stun one of the Black Panthers, kill the other one without too much difficulty, then go back and kill the one I stunned and grab that treasure without much difficulty, and I do, and that should hopefully allow me to get more villagers coming out quicker. I do send that villager to go get that next herd to me. I'm doing all very standard play in the early game. I did look at Blue's town there a little bit. I just wanted to see what he was up to, and I finally asked him now, hey, what's the plan? What are we doing? And he doesn't really reply back yet. So, unfortunately, it appears that it's kind of going to be a little bit more of a lone wolf. And then he replies and says, forward base. Okay. So our plan is to build a forward base. Excellent. But that's what I thought in my head in-game, but I decided not to say anything about it, despite the fact it somewhat annoyed me. I figured that mentioning that to him would not be helpful to our team's synergy, because, as we all know, synergy is the most important aspect of Age of Empires 3. Now, right off the bat, I am in a little bit of, I don't know if a predicament here, but I don't have 200 wood, and I do not have the village built, so I just decided to send the 300 wood right off the bat. I'm going to use that, or 300 wood, I'm sorry, I'm going to use 300 food to speed up my aging, and the reason why I did that instead of waiting for the villagers is I do know that the Indian is likely going to age up very fast, regardless of whether he's fish booming or not. So it's very important to me in my head to get to the next age as fast as possible, get the summer palace built, and get units coming out. Now I look at his deck here and I am able to see that he does not actually have the deck he would need if he was going to do a fish boom, so we are in good shape right off the bat, and I did not even bother to check the British players deck. No offense to British players, but they generally have uninspiring, boring, and non-different decks. So I'm not perturbed about it at all. Now I have 400 something food, and I have found his aggro fort right at the river crossing. Not sure if that's a good or bad spot. I was going to try to attack him with my monk and his disciple, but I decided not to because I didn't want to lose my disciple in a pointless fist fight, since I wouldn't be able to slow down the building of that wonder anyway. Now I finally do get my second village up, a little bit too late though, but I do get it up, and I am right now going to go build my wonder. I'm going to have 4 villagers on it. The summer palace is going up very quickly right now. Unfortunately, I had a little bit of trouble clicking the button there. And I only aged with 13 villagers as opposed to the 16 or 17 you're normally supposed to age with. And again, this isn't standard strategy, but I did it because I was concerned about his ability to rush me. So I decided it was worth it to me to age up faster with less of an economic stronghold, to get my Choconos and my armies up faster. That way I could fight him off. And I think it was a wise choice in hindsight. Unfortunately, though, Blue has not scouted at all near his town or between us very much, so we're not quite sure what resources we're sitting on, I guess you could say, in our local vicinity. I mean, I can see my side, but we can't see his, and I'm a little bit bummed about that at this point. Now, going into the second age, I did decide here to send the 3 villagers, even though that's highly irregular and definitely more of a passive economic stance. I had a gut feeling in this game, after looking at his deck, that because he wasn't fishing and because he was likely just going to go straight up Sepoy, since I am a lower ranked player and these are lower ranked matches, kind of trusted a gut feeling that he would just throw Sepoys at me and that I would be able to handle them. I don't always recommend that. I mean, it wasn't the wisest choice, but that's what I did. Now, unfortunately, I start building this wall here, and I completely miss a river crossing. For some reason, I thought that was a river crossing. Unfortunately, I do not build the wall straight at the river crossing. And I am, by the way, going to be the last person to get to the second age. Fortunately, though, my opponent has not capitalized on it, and I did hit the second age before 5 minutes, so I don't think it's the end of the world necessarily. Just not optimal, I guess you could say. Now, I am hitting the second age at 5 minutes with 19 villagers, a summer palace up, a bunch of food, and I feel as if I'm in pretty good shape. My economy is currently an 8-8 split, because my goal is to spam the old Han army. Sorry about my change in voice there. My goal is to spam the old Han army, and the reason why that army in particular I think will be very successful against this India player, who's on my side of the map, so I assume I'll be having to handle. I assume it'll be successful against him because the pikemen will melee the Sepoys and the Chocono will pick them apart. So all around, I feel like we're in good shape. I do make a bunch of disciples out the river crossing because my plan is to kind of slow him down a little bit. I don't want him to be able to just walk straight over into my side. I'd like to at least slow him down and have some knowledge. So that's why I made the disciples, but seeing nothing forthcoming, I do decide to march them into his town a bit and see if I can go maybe kill some villagers or just harass them a tad, I guess. I don't want them to feel comfortable with the status quo. Approaching the 6th minute of the game, though, I was very, very concerned at this point. We haven't seen Orange do anything at all, and that is distressing to say the least, because Orange should have, by this point, got in a pretty big force going. And here comes the Sepoys. He's got probably 20 or 30 or so, if that. Probably closer to 20, marching into our town. I let Blue know that they're on his way, but I'm not that worried about it. I have 8 Chocono coming. I tried to build an army earlier, but I couldn't, so I will hopefully now get my old Han army. There we go. Or maybe it's a standard. No, it's the old Han, I'm pretty sure. I will get my old Han army out and about onto the field at this point. And we have been able to kill his explorer, so I feel really, really good about that. I am going to send my 8 Chocono directly to Blue's town, and fortunately it works out because Orange marches his Sepoys into Blue's town. However, looking at Orange's army when he does march into Blue's town, it's a lot less threatening than it originally appeared. Don't get me wrong, 20 Sepoys is nothing to sneeze at, but I know that I'll be able to at least harass him, pick a few off, and stop him from taking down that town center if I play it right. So I'm not freaked out, even though I suspect at this point my ally Blue is slightly nervous. He decides to send me a flare to let me know, to remind me, I guess you could say, that I'm in trouble. And I'm just going to start off with my 8 Choconos on the perimeter of his city, picking them off one at a time. Now, you might be wondering why I didn't march into attack the full brunt of his army. And the reason why is, if I attacked the full brunt of his army, he would just turn to me, pick off all my Chocono, and then we'd be in a bad place. However, if I pick and run and I get the initiative, I'm definitely going to be able to kill a lot more of his units than he will be able to kill of mine. And that's what's going on. So already at this moment, I've pretty much saved the town center just by having an army there and putting some pressure on him. He is going to, of course, not want to run away and lose the momentum he has, but he's not going to be able to keep attacking. I have, by the way, I should say, at this point, made fishing boats, or docks and some fishing boats. My plan is, since I don't see Orange is taking control of the water, I am going to. Although, even without a fishing deck, I think it would have been wiser for Orange to have taken better control of the water. At this point, though, Blue has sent Minutemen to save his capital, and he does have archers coming. So, all around, Orange has pretty much thrown away his army with very little perceptible results. I mean, Blue did have a little bit of a scare and probably a little bit of a slowed down production, but I don't think anything that would have dramatically caused him to lose the game or be in trouble. Blue thanks me for saving him, and at this point we are definitely in the driver's seat. I guess that was a turning point in the match, at least in my head. I don't see either of them recovering that resoundingly from such a defeat. I mean, and the reason why is because Sepoys are so expensive. If you lose your Sepoy army, you're in trouble, you know? You can't just walk away from losing a million Sepoys and be like, oh, I'm going to be fine. So, all around, we're in very, very good shape now, and Blue, or Orange now, decides to march the last of the men he has alive away. I am going to keep making fishing boats, though. My hope is to grow my economy on the water and on the land, just because while we are in a very, very plentiful area of the map, you do run out of resources really quickly. And I don't know if I've mentioned this, I have built a consulate already at this point, and now Blue and I have our armies amassed, and it really looks like we have a pretty good size advantage over anything they could possibly send. China is just a great civ in the way that they mass units. I love China for it. I love any civilization that just makes hordes of units. It's why I love Russia. It's why I love China. The ability to just overwhelm in sheer numbers, in my mind, is incredibly delightful. And here we do get the British consulate allies. Now, if I was playing with Japan or India, I would have picked Portuguese consulate allies. However, China doesn't have that choice, so we do go with the standard land hit points allies in order to back us up. You may notice there, by the way, that in this little fight, I did send my cavalry back to protect them. However, I see those longbowmen standing off to the side, so I am going to get my ground units out of the way, and I am going to send the steppe riders in to go attack the longbow-men, and I'm going to start being able to pick them off, and I'm going to send them scurrying back home, losing units all the time. So we are in a incredible position right now. Both of our sides are walled, neither of their sides are walled. He is in a world of trouble. Unfortunately, he does manage to get away from us by sending some pikemen to us. We kill a few of those pikemen, and I decided to retreat at this point. I didn't want to follow him back, although in hindsight, I really should have. The match would have been probably shorter if I had. I have built a market, by the way, for all the people who say, "Oh man, Big Thunderman, you never built a market. Oh, such a noob." Well, look at that. I just built a market and I got all the upgrades. Granted, it is 10 minutes into the game, but considering the amount of pressure and the conflict going on, it's not the end of the world. I am going to not buy some British Expeditionary Forces, or aka Redcoats at this point, because I ran out of population room, so I guess I am a noob, guys. Too many things to keep track of in this game, right? But we are going to start marching onto their side of the map, and it is a very, very bad day to be either purple or orange at this point, because we have control of the game thoroughly. Now, the reason why I marched just randomly into their map rather than into, I guess, their forward base or their barracks was I wanted to try to mess up Purple's economy, because I noticed that Purple's economy was doing very, very strong, was very strong, and I didn't want to just allow Purple to kind of get off scot-free. I wanted to bring the fight a little bit closer to home. I didn't want them to concentrate on protecting at the riverfronts. I wanted them to feel like the fight was being brought to their town center. And my hope was that by doing that, they kind of have a little bit of a psychological issue with defending their own town center, if that makes any sense whatsoever. Basically just the idea that, oh man, my town center is under attack, so, you know, I can no longer defend the river crossings. I have to be concentrated on defending my town center, if that makes sense whatsoever. I did, however, make a pretty bad mistake here, just letting my army be in trouble instead of focusing on the fight I was in. Initially when I saw this fight, I thought I am in a world of trouble, but it looks like we're going to survive it. I do get the steppe riders off of his hussar and onto his longbowmen, and I am able to start micromanaging out his hussar with my Choco No. So all around it looks like we are able to win this battle, even though we're both going to lose a truckload of units. Fortunately, though, Blue appears to have been very motivated by my ability to attack and strike panic in the fear of Purple, and he is now marching his men randomly around the map, and I cracked up at this. I just saw his men exploring their side pretty much almost with a huge little I guess those are contradictories, but with his musketeer army, and that'll actually draw the attention off of me a little bit and allow me to march back after them and hopefully just pick off a few while he's walking away. So all around, I felt like Blue and I did a really good job complementing each other without even planning to. At this point, my army is fairly decimated, but I am China, so it's not going to be any skin off my back making more units. We're just going to keep ordering them up, and my economy at this point is doing really, really well. 15 and 15 and 7 units. So 37 villagers total, doing an excellent job. I am at a place where I can actually spam units, I feel, fairly comfortably, as long as I'm not losing them all incredibly fast, and I'll be fine. I do, however, select to make 5 villagers. I set them to a mine, and the reason why I like making villagers in blocks in the mid-game, so I don't have to remember like every single little villager. That way I'm not constantly thinking, must make more villagers, must make more villagers. I do make 4 more fishing boats, though, and I do set them to a whale. That way I just again, quietly keep my economy growing, and I am going to build another dock. At this point, though, we got to look at the forward, or I guess the way to win the game. We've knocked them on their heels, and we definitely have a pretty good score advantage by 20 points individually each. And I began to look and think, alright, how do we win the game at this point? So you're going to actually see me utilize a lot more redcoats here and kind of amass a little bit of an army instead of just keeping any random pressure on them. I feel like Blue's doing a really good job keeping pressure on them, so I don't need to do that. I need to amass an army. I also decided to make 2 more docks because I want to really take full control of the water. For some reason, everybody's ignoring it, and it literally is like free water at this point. So I think, why not? I do send the Silversmith card at this point. I did edit my deck to throw in Silversmith, I think a Furrier or another card, second age economic upgrade card instead of a 700 resource card. And the reason why I use my deck, though, that has these upgrades instead of my traditional deck I showed you in the last video was because I figured it would be a more long-term game. Anytime you have very limited access to each other, it will become long-term. Now, I see a very, very beautiful built wall here, and I was so flabbergasted by how incredible it was that I just decided to walk directly around this. And I kind of had hoped that Orange had seen this at this point, not because I wanted to be mean, but just because I thought it was hilarious. I'm like, oh dude, that blows, you know, you build this huge ass wall and then an army just walks right around it. I decided to go pick up my Explorer at this point, or my Monk I guess I should say, since I am Chinese. Go pick up my Monk, and my plan is to add him to my army, throw in some more disciples, and then hopefully just start putting a lot more pressure on Purple, because even though Orange is doing well, I've seen nothing but set boys from him, and set boys don't scare China. Honestly, if you look at the if you look at the 3 Indian civilizations, I almost feel like Japan really beats India well. China really beats India well. And India beats nobody. I'm not sure. I'd like to think they're a triangle, but I've always felt like China just stacks up very, very well against both India and Japan individually. So I'm not worried about either of them. I'm also not worried about the British player, just because I fought them so much. Now at this point, look at this. I'm in this fight here, and Blue walks by with his musketeers that have been exploring, and I say, Blue, help me. Come on, dog, what you doing? And fortunately, he does turn around to help. It looks like I would have won the fight either way, which I wasn't actually expecting. Unfortunately, I do, and now we have a free chance to take out Purple's forward base here, which will be excellent. It'll really put the pressure on Purple to keep up with us at this point. And he built a church there, and it was just very strange. Now, I had a very interesting dilemma here. He had a church, a stable, a barracks, and an outpost. I was not sure which to take out first. I guess in order of priority, I decided to go for the outpost first. And the reason why I did that, and I'm sure some people will tell me in the comments it wasn't a good idea, so if you don't think it was, please do. But I went for the outpost first because it was shooting at me. That's right, I just didn't want to lose units. Unfortunately, though, I can no longer cross freely to that side with my reinforcements, but on the bright side, Blue is sending a truckload of Hussar to their side of the map. Whoa, pardon me there, guys. Sorry about that. Blue is sending a ton of Hussar to their side of the map. So it looks like we're still going to be able to take down this forward base, and I am sieging the wall by my town. Now, I do split off my Chocono from my main army, obviously, so the Chocono can shoot the range units on the other side, while my cavalry simply go and keep sieging the wall. And I am going to age up to the next age because I realized I didn't want to take down the Agra Fort or any serious buildings by myself. I made a decision there. I'm like, you know what? We're going to have to get some artillery in here, so I'm going to age to the 3rd age with the Confucian Academy, if I'm correct, and then use the Flying Crow I get from it to destroy Orange completely. And even though I'm fighting Purple at this point, I still felt like Orange was my main threat. Now, he does send some Siege Elephants, and the thing about Siege Elephants is they're very effective if left in their niche. Not in their niche, they're not very good. He basically threw away those 2 Siege Elephants, unfortunately for him, I should say, because Siege Elephants aren't made to take melee and ranged attacks at the same time from a horde. They're meant to be behind your army, picking off cannons or buildings one at a time. The Siege Elephants weren't there. He decided to use a Siege Elephant as straight-up units. That was a mistake on his part. So I'm going to take advantage of that, kill the Siege Elephants, and then use both of my armies to really break down the middle of his wall. That way I can have unhindered access. Hopefully soon I'll be in the 3rd age. I am making more fishing boats, and it really looks like we're running away with this game. Orange's score has fallen, and I'm not sure why at this point Orange even went to the third age. It doesn't seem like that was the most profitable choice. And then there's his Wonder sitting right there, and I'm just like, why in the world would your Wonder be there? What good will that possibly do you? So I, of course, am going to go to his Wonder and start the Karni Mata. I'm going to walk there and start burning it down. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, Blue has a million Hussars, literally millions of them. And like sharks, we knew blood was in the water. I get my final market upgrade. I keep making more men. And don't be mad at me, guys, but literally, I only built the one war academy this entire game. I conducted all my military affairs from that one war academy. So, take that, people who say you need more than one war academy. Orange comes up at this point, though, and decides to protect his Wonder, the Karni Mata. Even though the Karni Mata, tell me if I'm pronouncing it wrong, by the way, is near no resources besides trees. I don't see mines or bushes or herdables near it. So I have no idea why he decided to build it there. Anyway, I'm going to siege that Wonder. I'm going to get Flying Pro soon, and I have more military presence in the area. I have 61 villagers, a million fishing boats, upgraded almost 160 population. We're only going to get more, so at this point it really is in trouble. I do see Blue on the mini-map running around with a huge bunch of Hussar. Not quite sure what's going on, but I approve of it. I felt like Blue played pretty well this game. And the game keeps on moving. Now, at this point, something really cool is going to happen here. So, I noticed Blue running through Orange's town. It's coming up. Should be right about now. Okay, I noticed Blue running away through Orange's town, away from all of Purple's melee units that are designed to kill cavalry. And so, I get to do something so cool here. As Blue runs by me, and Purple follows in pursuit, I am going to completely flank Purple here and get a little bit of an advantage on him. Now, it didn't work out necessarily 100% as planned because Purple did stop, but because he stopped, it actually only made it even easier for me to kill his units, so I'm able to kind of do a little bit of a flanking strategy, flank him here, and kill him, and I was really happy at this point. I was just like, oh, that's so cool. You never, like, we're not on TeamSpeak. I've never met Blue before, but we just clicked in that one moment. He ran his units by me, and I was able to pick him off with my Choco No army that happened to be in the area. So it was just fabulous as a player to be able to do that. I felt pretty good about it. Unfortunately, though, Flying Crows are not coming as fast as I had planned, so I'm definitely slightly bummed. I am going to upgrade fishing boats some more. I looked here, and I wanted to get that cannon. I really wanted to get that Falconet and Redcoat army, but I couldn't afford it, unfortunately. So I am just going to destroy his Wonder, and now I'm going to get the ability to really actually take out the fort and this barracks, which I had really ignored most of the game. And I was able to ignore it because of the access to Purple on the other side of my crossing. I was able just to go around and put pressure on and not have to worry about it. So I don't think ignoring it was necessarily a wise choice, but I was able to without having any bad consequences up to this point. I do start to build a war academy on their side of the map, but it doesn't get finished in time. Spoiler alert, guys. Sorry about that. So it's not the end of the world. Again, we still have standard armies rolling in. We have a ton of wood. I probably, if I was smart, would have shifted my economy a little bit at this point, because all that wood is definitely superfluous, but I wasn't sure what to do. I wanted to keep making fishing boats, but then I'm like, well, I already have 70 villagers, and then Orange quit, so it didn't really matter either way. My resource distribution, though, mid to late game wasn't optimal, I'll be honest. So that was definitely something I can improve on in later games. And then Purple at this point, seeing his teammate quits as well. So that was a good game. It was on Indochina. I know somebody once had asked me to get another game on Indochina, and it's really, really hard to find games on Indochina. And this came up in my random maps selection. So it was just great to be able to play it. Great to be able to play a 2-on-2, because I don't get to play many 2-on-2s. And it was also just a huge joy to win and have a really good partner like Blue who played well and who managed to hold off a Sepoy rush, and we kind of teamed fairly well. And looking at the post game, I just cracked up because I had the most resources, most improvements, most military units, most units killed, most units lost, and the highest score. So I kind of gave myself a little bit of a pat on the back. Definitely, I'm not going to lie, I definitely got very lucky by having free, unfettered access to the water. If Orange had decided to sea boom and take control of the water, it would have been a much, much different game. But that's not the way the cookie crumbled. It ended up this way. That was great. So I just scroll through the military here, and I killed a lot of units. Not too bad of a ratio, actually. 176 to 150. That's almost a 1-1. And considering that most of my units are made to be spammed, that's not bad at all. So I look at the timeline here. I go to villager count. You can really see where the game kind of got lost. Once we started getting some pressure on them and they started losing villagers, and Blue and I were able to just keep growing our economies, it really put them in a huge amount of trouble, in a world of hurt. I do look at the military units here, and you can actually see, if I click on it, do I click on it? Well, you can see first off that Orange had this huge period where he didn't make villagers. That definitely hurt him a lot. But if you look at military unit population, you can see that Orange really had an early jump on us, but wasn't able to capitalize. And that was just very, very lucky for us. So thank you guys for watching. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and until next time, guys, happy hunting.